Again, I'm Kevin Luters. I'm with Bell Medical. We represent the Zavant Stimpod. It is actually manufactured in South Africa. And so we import it and supply the entire US with its device. There's over 2,000 of these installed, although this is the Plus unit and it's relatively new since January. So I think your timing is perfect because we got a lot of good things about this device. What makes it unique, it is the only device that can do acceleromyography or AMG and electromyography or EMG in the same device simply by changing the cable. So what we recommend usually is putting this on an IV pole mount. And when it is mounted to the IV pole mount, it can be taken off of it, worked with your hand, and then when you're done with it, you put it back on the IV pole mount. But we also recommend a basket underneath that, which you guys have gotten, and you'll be able to put your EMG cable and your AMG cable in that basket along with the electrodes. So you'll be able to make a clinical choice on what you want to monitor and how you want to monitor it. What we recommend is any case that's longer than 90 minutes and with tucked arms or robotics should all be EMG. And EMG uses a proprietary sensor that looks something like this. These go on your ulnar nerves. This goes on your abductor pollicis. And then we use the thumb as a reference electrode, the side of the thumb. I'll show you that in a second. But that's your EMG. So that'd be for robotics cases, any case over 90 minutes, and if the arms are tucked. So you'll use this a fair amount. And it is the gold standard of quantitative train-of-four monitoring, primarily because it doesn't rely on any kind of motion. Now, you'll see when you do a stimulation, you'll still see motion if you have the hands visible, but it's not requiring motion to give you your readings. So that's electromyography. If the patient is, in kind of a crucifix position and the arms are easily accessible and it's a relatively shorter case, we would recommend using standard electrodes and using the accelerometer cable. Now, I'm going to show you that real quick. So basically, when I stick in the accelerometer cable, it knows that I want to do acceleromyography, and it changes it to AMG. What's nice about our accelerometer is that it doesn't require any special electrodes. You basically put the red on close to the heart, the black closer to the appendage, and then the actual accelerometer, it can go on this way, it can go on that way, it can go on the thumbnail, it can go on the thumbprint, it can go on the side. In this case, I'm going to put it on the thumbprint because I want you to be able to see that light. And I'm going to hold my hand up and we're going to do a stimulation. When you power up the device, I don't know whether you can see that, but it's basically asking if you want to start the case. What's nice about this is that when I press start case, it will automatically determine whether your patient has paralytic on board or not. If it senses that you've already paralyzed the patient, then it'll default to 60 milliamps and start doing train of four from there. If you don't have paralytic on board, it will do an analysis to find out what the ideal milliamps is for that particular patient and the electrode placement that you have. Be aware that the handheld devices that you usually use, where you dial them up to 10, those are delivering at 10, 70 milliamps. This device will go up to 80 milliamps, but there's no reason to go there. 60 milliamps is plenty. So if you wanted a default number, I would say 55 to 60 milliamps is a great default number. But this will automatically default to 60 if you already have your paralytic on board. So in this case, I'm going to start the case, and I don't know whether you'll be able to see this, but it's going to start giving me a little shock, and it's basically going to determine what the milliamps should be for me based on where I have these electrodes placed. Now it's doing a train of four, and it found the electrode, the ideal placement was 60 milliamps in my case, and it just found me at 103%. It's going to do another train of four in a couple seconds. So it's set right now initially. When it senses that you don't have any paralytic on board, it's going to do them fairly rapidly. I'm going to press automatic mode and change it to train of four and confirm that. So when I press this button down here, it brings up all the different modes. Now that's probably hard to see, but brings up all the different modes from post-actinic count to train of 4. And I took it basically out of the auto mode. And I'm going to press the 60 milliamps. And I'm going to lower that. I can lower it by sliding it or spinning this wheel. In this case, I've brought it down to 25 milliamps. 60, I'm fairly used to it, so it doesn't bother me too much, but it's a little bit of a jolt. Obviously, if your patient's asleep or anesthetized, you know, they can handle 60, 70 or whatever, and they won't be complaining. But so the automatic mode actually kind of has what I would call a little bit of AI, but really I just call it a programmed mode. When you say start case, it'll automatically find out whether your patient has paralytic or not. And it will adjust the time width of stimulations based on what it notices. So if the patient is at 0 of 4, it'll go to every 5 minutes. If it finds 0 of 4 2 times in a row, it will automatically do a post-tectonic count. So that's all in auto mode. So it'll kind of, and then as the paralytic's wearing off and you're about to extubate, it'll once again start doing train of 4s like every 30 and every 15 seconds so that you're updated, so that you know that, hey, I'm over 90, I'm safe to extubate this patient. So that's auto mode. A lot of people really like it, but if you're the kind that just wants train of 4 when you want train of 4, then you will press the auto button and you'll choose train of 4. Once you choose train of 4, then it's on manual mode until you make a change. So I'm going to press manual mode, means I would press the middle button here. You'll see this light will change, and you'll see a light here will go green 4 times because it's going to do a train of 4. There it just did the train of 4. It found me at 130%. So obviously I don't have any paralytic on board and I'm safe to extubate. You can sweep just like you do with an iPhone. I can sweep to the right or the left and it'll show me a trend. And there's a little syringe at the very bottom. This is more for when we connect to an EMR, which we should be able to do toward the end of this summer. But I can press the syringe and that'll put a little marker in the trend that'll tell you that, hey, you've just given more rocuronium, or I'm giving sugammadex and I'm reversing the patient, or neostigmine or whatever. The ASA came out and basically said you should only use neostigmine if you are over 40% recovered. And obviously there's no way to know that you're 40% recovered unless you have a quantitative device. And obviously you're safe to extubate once you're over 90%. So that's what we're looking for. I can also press this little clock button, and when I press the clock, it'll bring up a bunch of timers. So when I'm in the manual train of 4 mode, I can turn on a repeat timer that would be every 10 minutes or every 15 minutes. But it is not a program mode. It will just do that train of 4, in this case at 25 milliamps, every 10 minutes. Or every 5 minutes, or whatever you choose it. So auto mode is kind of a program mode that kind of has a little program set up, and then just repeat timer just does the repeat timer. Let's see. I can press the AMG button, and it'll actually, I don't know whether you can see this, it'll actually show the electrode, and if I disconnect one of the electrodes, it'll show you which electrode is disconnected or that you have electrode problem. So there's a few things like that that are kind of nice. But that's acceleromyography. So basically, you put on electrodes on the ulnar nerve. This strap can be removed and can be replaced with a 5-inch strap, so it can work on the tibia nerve and the big foot and the big toe. Excuse me. I can also take this strap off, although it's not recommended by the ASA, but I can put this sensor on the eyelid or the eyebrow, and I can do facial nerves. There may be cases where you need to do that, but I would recommend using the EMG electrode rather than doing that, because they say that the facial nerves do not reflect what the diaphragm's experiencing, or the airways actually experiencing, as well as the ulnar nerve. So accelerometer can be used ulnar, tibia, and facial nerves. But if you have a patient that is going to be anesthetized for over 90 minutes and you're doing robotics, or their tucked arms, that's when you use the EMG sensor. So when I switch to the EMG sensor, I'm going to use a sensor like this, and this plugs into that. It's got a magnetic connection, so when you put it in, there's only one way to put it in, and then it will start doing it. These go on your ulnar nerve, this goes on your abductor pollicis, and this goes on the side of your thumb at the knuckle point. And there's a diagram on each electrode package that explains that. And we also have a video on our website that will show you AMG and EMG. So that's a quick review. It does use a rechargeable battery that's designed to last about 40 hours of continuous use. So I'll take this off. Mine happens to be blue. Sometimes they're yellow. You also have rechargers. I forget exactly how many you have, but they have 2 batteries in them. So if you ever get a message that says your battery's low, you should be able to go to your anesthesia tech and say, get me another battery, and you'll do a swap out. The device has a recharging cable with it, with each device, but it cannot be recharged and used at the same time. So at night, you could plug it in and have it recharge in the device, or the easier way would just be to swap it with a fully charged battery from your anesthesia tech group. So that's kind of a quick overview. I'm going to open it up to questions, so you may have to come off mute.